Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. Earlier today, I planned on reporting on the results of the Georgia runoff elections and the certification results. About 75% of the way through the stream, there was a order to disperse or to suspend the joint session of Congress because of protesters outside. And it is becoming increasingly clear that these protesters are not protesters at all. They are, in fact, open fascists attacking the state legislature, the capital legislature at the moment. We have reports from the New York Times that has confirmed it, and the Associated Press that have suggested that about 11,000 National Guardsmen from the DC National Guard are being sent to quell this insurrection against a democratic election. And what we are witnessing, make no mistake, is a fascist coup against democracy. And the members of the Republican Party who brought this challenge before the Capitol building, before the Senate, Ted Cruz in particular, and Josh Hawley, who's in Congress, I'm just going to be blunt about it. They have blood on their hands. Someone's been shot over this. They've been inciting the idea that this election needs to be stopped, and they've been playing to a base that cannot be played to. For too long, we have had a problem within the Republican Party that views appealing to the most rancid, atrocious, and appalling behavior by radicals within their base will lead them to election. And in the past, it has. But now you have a riot on your hands because of this. This decision by the Republican Party, at least members of it, has finally blown up in their face. Mitch McConnell, thankfully, and many other members of the Republican leadership were not so inclined to support this this attempt to block it. But the fact that they couldn't even control some of their own senators and stop legitimizing what is ultimately an anti-democratic attempt to steal the will of the people just makes this all the more difficult. So I'm just taking a look at what the Washington Post has had. Their front title right now is basically really a direct statement about what we're facing right now. That there is currently a pro-Trump mob in the Capitol storming our country right now, and this is what we're facing at the moment. We are facing an open insurrection against our government in real time. So yeah, I don't. Words escape me in this moment because, as far as I am concerned, this is reason enough to convict Trump of sedition, if they can, and to never ever allow him to hold power again. I think the House needs to convene whenever they can before Biden is inaugurated, and officially put a vote of impeachment and bar him from holding public office ever again. Because the behavior by the current administration and really some of the members out inside and outside the Capitol building right now is absolutely unacceptable. There can be no excuse for insurrection. And make no mistake, this is not a peaceable assembly either. I know in a lot of cases, like, people showing up at people's houses to protest gets defended like, oh, it's a peaceful protest. This is not that. What we are witnessing is an act of open violence. There were shots fired on the Senate floor, and hell, the Virginia National Guard now has to come forward and tell people that they're coming. Like, that's how our elections have to be. That the DC Guard and the Virginia National Guard have to come in to make sure that what a formality can come through. And of course, he's got a "Don't tread on me" flag. A "Don't tread on me" flag while you're literally trying to overthrow the entire democratic system. I'm just taking a look at the Seattle protests right now. to see, because I'm looking through multiple streams, and this like this is where we are. This is what we deal with. There are people literally occupying the Capitol building. They're literally occupying the state, the height of legislative power in the second largest democracy on the face of the earth, and one of the oldest. So I'm just gonna say this, and I think after what's happening right now, I think it's a perfectly fair thing to say. From now on, I think anytime we see any of these conspiratorial things being posted, particularly when we're talking about things like this election was stolen, this election was this and that, and there's talk of marching down to the Capitol with armed people like this, can we seriously hold some of these platforms to actually start banning these people? Because this is what they'll do. They want to be the militiamen storming the king's palace. That's they want to be the guys who fought the British but spit in the face of the whole process that supports our liberties in the first place. They're freaking fascists. We're literally seeing fascists occupy our building, the DC Capitol building. I'll let you listen in on what they're saying, because this should be good.
And anything on the mic, as of today, will be white clean. Clearly, education and economic respect. Sir, what is your name? Everyone will be free of debt, and we'll start back at zero. Sir, what is your name? Retribution!
They're shouting retribution.
Will now be 50% off. What? In every market. From materials to manufacturing, to shipping, to retail, all the way to the consumer. Every single person gets a money. What is your name, sir? What's your name? What is your name, sir? Does he have a name, please? Say your name again. That's true. Matter of fact, income. As people will be spending more money, making us a difference for the lost. Can you tell us your name, please? Who are you?
Sounds like there's a leader going against them. Looks like they're turning against each other.
America.
So it looks like there was something going on with one of the speakers. I'm not entirely sure what that was about, but it seems like he was making some sort of material demands, and I'm not quite sure what he was going on about like military installations and other things, and then he pivoted to COVID conspiracies, and suddenly they were on with him. But On the lighter side, we have reports that John Ossoff has won the Senate and is the projected winner against David Perdue. Now, that was initially what the news I was going to try and talk about on the last stream, but unfortunately, we have fascism. That's what we got. But so if there's anything that this has taught us, is that these protesters or rioters and insurrectionists, if you want to call them, they're probably not alone. I don't mean that to say that there are people assisting them or that this was characterized by outside forces. I want to make that very clear. I am not suggesting some vast conspiracy theory. What I am suggesting is these are only like tens of thousands of people. There are 326 million people in this country. And this is not the first time we have seen right-wing extremism storm a major public building to get a result that goes against the democratically enforceable rule of the people. We saw this with Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and we saw their attempts to storm the Michigan Capitol building there and open protests where they were basically dragging nooses with dolls of Governor Whitmer through the streets. So this is not new. The rhetoric we are seeing and has been promoted by the Republicans is not new. But I think what we really need to worry about and perhaps prepare for is what will they do if we see this in future elections. Will we see something like people storming state capitol buildings when a Republican loses? I hope not. And maybe this is just a minority group of people who are just crazy and loud enough to actually do this. And I hope that's the case. But so long as the minority is able to continue like pulling things like this, it will not matter how many of a minority they are. The Republican Party needs to get its acts together. They need to start forcing radicals to tone down their language. And this is a bit off the cuff, but I think that every senator and every member of the House, well, every member of the House at least, because the Democrats will have a much stronger chance of doing this, should be expelled. Every member of the House that partook in this attempt to be like cut down should be expelled or at the very least reprimanded in some way, because this is on them. There is no like Antifa. There is no excuse for any of that. This is entirely on them.
It's not over. All we did was open the door. We are still going to vote, and we still have to continue to show our support for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one that is continuously fighting for our liberties, for our constitution. We have to continue on the way we do, which is continue to show our support.
Sorry, guys, gotta plug in my phone. Thanks for coming, everyone. Welcome to all the new people. I appreciate all the mods helping out. What a historic day. What's there to even say about it? I recommend you look into this guy called Jesus Christ. That's my plug.
I would advise you to go to prison, frankly, because if this person who is talking just there was one of the rioters who was partaking in this, there is no excuse. This is not some Christian thing. This is a fascist thing. We are faced with an open act of violence against the people of this country, and I know the Republicans will denounce this now because their bet is he can't control it either. He's done. He's played his card and it's blown up in his face. All of this is on him because deep down, all of it was based on his rhetoric. Once you tell people that the election was stolen and that they need to march onto the Capitol to do something about it, what do you think they're going to believe is going to happen? What do you think they're going to do? What do you think comes to their mind? Do you think they're just going to wave a flag and then do a little dance and move along? No. The rhetoric surrounding it is explicitly connected to open violence against the state. They're breaking windows. They were in Pelosi's office. Someone left a freaking sticker saying, well, we're not going to stop. I'm sorry, but this was inevitable. And it appears they're shouting something at the security.
Just go arrest the politicians that commit treason, and then we're all happy. You don't get it coming out. The conservatives don't hate us. We like you guys. We like that you defend the local community, but you're not defending the community. You're selling us out. Stand with us! Stand with us! Yeah, maybe you guys can take a copy of it. You really need that. You don't want to read it all. Hey guys, I got a question real quick. I got a question for you guys. Whoa, back up. Can you back up for a second? You guys back up. So, who owns this building? We do. You guys own it? Yep. Why the government supposed to own it? Because they obeyed their constitution.
Okay, so I'm seeing this from this rhetoric saying this is not their house. No, it is not their house. The representatives of Congress do not own the building. But I'm going to just say this very quickly. If they came here with guns and entered the Capitol. The Capitol serves as a place of deliberation. It serves as a place where people talk about the issues and they handle them. Weapons are not necessary. And whether you like it or not, Congress is a collection of federal officials. They are federal officials and they are entitled to security just as much as anybody else. An assassination of a congressperson is just as bad as an assassination of the president, at least in the eyes of the law, because it's an attempt on the life of a federally elected official. So when they're saying, oh, this is not our house, this is not your house, let us in. No, you're not entitled to break into the building after somebody was shot. It's a crime scene now. It's an unlawful assembly. The First Amendments don't protect unlawful assemblies. They don't protect any of this shit that you're pulling. And I really do think every single one of these people who was involved in this needs to be charged with insurrection, freaking destruction of property, and be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. There is no excuse for any of this. My God. Are we really so far away from our country's dignity towards one another that we can't possibly have people coming in? Can we possibly be so broken that this is the recourse that some of these people felt was appropriate? My God, I'll play the stream a little more. I wonder if they'll disperse. So the metro system in DC will now be shutting down for 3 hours. Yep, the metro system will shut down transit service early on Wednesday due to the violence at the U.S. Capitol and a 6 p.m. curfew instituted by DC leaders. So yeah, at 6 p.m. they are officially in violation of a curfew. Metro rail will close at 8 p.m. 3 hours earlier than normal. Oh, they're closing earlier than normal. So they're shutting down transportation, they're shutting down everything. They're shutting down everything. I mean, I mentioned that this was open fascism, but now we have a problem with Coup. This is insane. Like I mean, we knew that they were going to do something. We knew that they were going to cause problems. We knew that these people were going to be openly violent, but like tens of thousands of them storming the building. And let this be a lesson to us, like as like just as general organizers, anybody who organizes on the ground, any political activity of any kind. Consider the fact that this is only a collection of people from across the country. They're not like one big community just flooding it. Most Americans have nothing to do with this across the aisle politically. But yet, just enough of these people organized into one goal, one perspective, they were able to overwhelm security for a time and break into the chambers of Congress and the Senate. Now imagine like if we actually put that energy to peaceful protests, and instead of like destroying things, we actually started talking about improving our infrastructure, providing better medical care to people across this country. If the level of energy that was applied by these people to overthrow our democratic system was applied in an organized manner against the way insurance companies abuse people in our medical system, if we talked about like getting rid of the spying that is conducted by the NSA or any of the other things that could affect us in real substantial ways, our country would be a lot better. But instead, we have people storming the U.S. Capitol. Unbelievable. So I'm sure you guys heard some of that conversation. So some of the protesters were saying, Trump wants us to go home. Trump wants us to go home. This is all about Trump. So that's that cult of personality I was talking about, but ironically, it's the source of reason in this case. But now some of the protesters were saying things like, "Oh no, this isn't about Trump. This is about fuck Antifa and all that." So now we have not only a fear of the left contributing to this act of overt insurrection and violence, but we now have people actively distancing themselves from Trump in order to justify their continued presence against the federal government. And this is the thing, like the problem with this this fascist movement that we are seeing right now is it's not just a Trumpian thing. Trump is the conduit for this conflict. What we're actually seeing is open violence on the basis of a general hatred of government and just a feeling that they're not going anywhere or whatever it is. But like there is just a general obstructive spirit about this whole thing. And now we're seeing it unleashed on the country. Hello, Eslen. I don't know what you mean by payday, but that's okay. Are you referring to the $2,000 that will come through? I don't know if that's right now. It doesn't look like that's going to be the issue we're dealing with right now. Dear Lord. I mean, this is insane. Let's see what the Washington Post is saying. According to the Washington Post, some of these rioters actually used ropes and ladders and stuff to try and get into the Capitol. So these people came prepared to enter and storm the U.S. Capitol. So make no mistake, this was never about a peaceful protest gone wrong. This was intentional. They knew what they were doing. These people knew what they were doing. They're engaging in unbelievable acts of violence, and right now the world is watching. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is watching, and we're watching one of the darkest moments in recent history, and the world weeps. The world weeps for our democracy. So they're showing some of the same stuff. So I'm gonna take a look at like what the Washington Post has to say, and we'll pull up their stream. But no, like you heard that one lady say, "Oh, this is our one chance, people. This is our one chance," and really, this is very clearly an attempt to overthrow an election that they have been convinced is just not real. Like they're separated from reality. And I know Rico's brought it up last night, and I was a little hesitant to support it, but he said that many of these companies, these news organizations that spread these conspiracies need to be held liable financially or legally. And I don't know quite what the route for that would be without risking some First Amendment issues. But the fact of the matter is these people were sold a lie. They were sold a lie, and now someone may very well have been killed in the U.S. Capitol over an election. An election that really is the centerpiece of American democracy. For 200 plus years, the peaceful transfer of power has been the centerpiece of America's goodwill. There has been plenty to say about America's past that is absolutely like reprehensible, and its present. Immigration policy is a perfect example of Americans being cruel. But in the case of peaceful transfers of power, that was one of our virtues. We can't say that anymore. We have an attempted coup at the center of American power, and they got into the House Majority Leader's office. Some people on the stream I showed you just a few minutes ago, one person was actually saying a couple hours ago that he wanted a piece of Speaker Pelosi's hair. There is no way I can say this without not only underselling the severity of this moment, but also just showing how horrid this is. I am underselling it with my reaction because I had to stop the last stream because of how pissed I was. I was ready to have a freaking heart attack. Fucking hell. So I'm going to pull up the Washington Post thing. Let me just do a bit of a screen share. I'm just trying to figure this out. Here we go.
Police barricades and cross police lines. And
I'm having a bit of difficulty with this Washington Post stream. So I'm going to see if I can find another stream of the event at the moment because this is not working. I'll just actually try this.
Tracking closely behind a few police in riot gear, calling them traitors for whatever happened inside the U.S. Capitol and berating them as they made their way across the front here.
Savannah? Allison Barber, a correspondent on the ground outside the Capitol. I want to go to a news conference underway now. But Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., was called the 6 o'clock curfew to the Capitol, so let's listen in.
This afternoon, I announced a citywide curfew for the District of Columbia beginning at 6 p.m. this evening.
So the FBI SWAT team has arrived. So what you're seeing right now is FBI SWAT teams marching into the Capitol building. They are armed and they are ready for a direct conflict if possible. I don't know if they have live rounds at the moment, but there are FBI members in the Capitol complex. So let me get that back. And then there are FBI members. And on another news, Ilhan Omar has actually drawn up articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. That means we are going to possibly see calls for his impeachment over his conduct during this event. Considering he will not be in office on January 20th, I don't think there should be a reason for the Republicans to oppose this, especially because we're going to need to see him barred from holding public office again after this event. But no, we are witnessing a curfew in DC. We are seeing talk of an impeachment, and we are seeing open sedition and insurrection in our country right now. So this is a historical moment. This is my second stream, and it's only been done in the last day because there's nothing else I can say or do besides watch it unfold. This is just tragic that it had to come to this. Let me just see if I can pull up what Mayor Bowser was saying.
A riot was declared.
So just for those who are unfamiliar with this is Mayor Bowser is on the left right there. right in the black jacket right there, right here. And she has just declared a curfew at 6 p.m., meaning anybody out beyond that point will be arrested, aside from journalists providing essential functions to the public and informing everybody. But now they have declared it a riot, which frankly is putting it lightly. And the National Guard is being deployed. FBI agents are in the building, and we will soon see this come to a head sooner rather than later.
Previously in place mutual aid agreement. As you heard from the mayor, a 6 p.m. curfew has been put in place tonight and will be in effect until 6 a.m. tomorrow, January 7th. We are advising everyone that is not engaged in essential activity to get off the streets and adhere to the curfew. If you are found to be in violation of the curfew, police will be required to take action. Again, I want to reiterate and make it clear, please abide by the curfew that the mayor has set in place.
that the MPD and all of the law enforcement partners who will be active will clear the Capitol and establish a perimeter in order to do that. And what was your second question?
Yeah, we have reports about that there are several MPD officers that are injured, but these officers are being tended to and still engaged in the fight to regain control of the Capitol. Although they are injured, they are still working. They're working very hard to regain control of the Capitol.
Bennett?
So they're just answering questions right now. So I'll just update, since I think some of the stream did not have sound for some of it. I did not know that if I muted my thing, it wouldn't come through. So basically what's happening is Mayor Bowser at the center right of the podium right now has been answering questions regarding a curfew. So there's a curfew at 6 p.m. in DC at the moment, and it envelops the entirety of the city except for the Capitol buildings locations. So those will be subject to police jurisdiction. That means that even though the city of DC, which is in an unusual legal situation, does not have any authority over federal property, they can and will have officers on the ground who keep the area secure that will explain things. I'm going to go, if you like, I can continue to cover the press conference, or I can take you guys back to the live stream of some of the people who are on the ground rioting at the moment, because I'm perfectly fine with answering either one of those things, because I still have another stream up right now that shows some of the confrontations going up. I think I'm just going to turn the press conference back on, because I think that's more informative.
For MPD to enter onto police territory to assist them with helping to.
That's not me, by the way. That's their mic.
When was that request made?
Several hours ago, and it was at the point where protesters began to reach the
Okay, due to some technical difficulties, I will be changing which stream I show you.
Who was shot at the Capitol? Was she shot by law enforcement, and is she still alive?
Bennett, as the chief said, that incident is under investigation, and we don't have anything else to provide at this time.
Okay, so they're not providing us any more information regarding this. So I'm going to see what other streams I can find for you guys, because right now it's a bit of a mess. Let me just take a look at what's going on. Twitter's showing that, but I would like to be able to see other live coverage. Let's see what's up. So for those of you who can see this, there is a bit of a riot going on still.
You guys killed an innocent woman today, you cowards! You killed an innocent woman today, you cowards!
So I'm just going to show you some of the video right now. So they were shouting something to the effect of, "You killed an innocent woman today. You killed an innocent woman today, you cowards." I just want to make something very, very clear. We don't know who was shot. We just know that a woman was shot, and we don't know if she was part of the instigators, or if there was an attempt by her to attack security. I honestly don't know, but just be on the lookout for claims online or all over the place saying that they are looks like that guy's burning property for everybody to see. Okay, real smart guy. Please be very, very careful about anybody claiming that she was shot by police or whatever. We don't know what's going on, and it's perfectly okay to say in your conversations with people, "I don't know." That's probably the more noble thing than to make things up. We really do not need to add fuel to the fire right now. because that will make things worse. But yeah, you're seeing these guys engage in property damage. They've been shouting at people for quite some time, and I'm gonna see if I can find some more for you. But in the meantime, I'll leave you with this audio. Okay, I have an update regarding the actions by members of Congress at the moment. Congresswoman Cori Bush has called for the removal of several members of Congress, a resolution which will call it, quote from it doesn't have a number right now, so it's a draft of a House resolution. It says, directing the Committee on House Administration and the Committee on Ethics to investigate and issue a report on whether the members of the House who have sought to overturn the 2020 presidential election have violated their oath of office to uphold the Constitution. So what we are actually seeing right now is a member of Congress has actually stated that she will be calling for a removal order. So under the Constitution, it is possible for members of Congress to be expelled. They do not need the approval of the House to do this. So Democrats control the House. So if they wanted to expel, say, Ted Cruz today, that would be perfectly reasonable for them to do. I'm going to just be right back real quick. I have to tell somebody something, but you guys can just continue watching this. I'll turn back the audio on real quick. Sorry about that. I'm back now. I will show you guys what I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to just switch the cameras right now. Audio still on there. So Congresswoman Cori Bush has officially called for a resolution expelling the members of Congress, or at least to investigate the results. You can find this on her account, but I will also be retweeting it at prog_American or PROG_American. So there may very well be punishments for the members of the House who partook in the effort to overturn the election. And considering the violence against the state that just occurred today, I would not be surprised if we saw something more. I'm just going to check updates and see what else has been introduced. I would also like to thank Ron for his introduction, his statements. But one of the things I want to make something very clear is this attempted coup will not work. We will not be seeing any overthrow of the election for quite some time, and I'll let you know what's happening some more on here. But I just think we need to address a few things. Firstly, this is not a peaceable assembly. The First Amendment protects peaceable assembly, and once an assembly is declared unlawful, it is no longer considered peaceable in the eyes of the law. Secondly, the attempt to overturn the election was never going to win in the legislature. Both the majority leader Mitch McConnell and the minority leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, who will now be the majority leader in the upcoming year, were against it. Only a select few members of the Senate were in favor of it. 12 people, led by Ted Cruz, and in the House it was a lot more people. I believe it was over 100 who were involved in the House, or at least who said they were going to object. But we never got to see the full thing because people stormed the Capitol. So what we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. But I want to make something 100% clear. On January 20th, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be inaugurated as President and Vice President of the United States. John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, they will also be inaugurated as senators of the United States, and the Democratic Party will control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. I want to make this very clear again and again. The Republicans are not going to get anything. They lost an election in both the House. They did not gain control of the House or the Senate, and they lost the presidency. And they rioted over it. This may not be representative of all Republicans, and probably isn't. A lot of my Republican friends are saying this is insane. But this was a result of Republican rhetoric. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm going to keep looking for live streams to help you out. But just please remember this fact, that this happened because of Republican rhetoric and because of Trump's rhetoric. In fact, I should take a look at what Trump's been doing. Oh my God. Alrighty, so we have just gotten an update, thanks to Ron again, who is always my spy on this. We have just learned that the acting Secretary of Defense has confirmed that it was Mike Pence, not President Trump, who was the one who gave the order for the National Guard. So Trump has abdicated. If this is true, it seems like they are abdicating. And Ron is suggesting that the 25th may have already been invoked. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if that's true. That's hypothetical at the moment, but it appears that the 25th may have been invoked at the moment. Like, I'm going to look up and see if I can get it with any other news agency. Shot explosive device. And there was an explosive device found at the Republican HQ, according to the Independent. So I'm just going to show you this article real quick, just to show that I'm not like being speculative here. We actually have a report from the Independent that shows that a woman was indeed shot on the floor of the Senate, and you can see the men at arms for the sergeant at arms for the United States defending their positions and barricading themselves. And then it happened at about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that's 2 p.m. CST. And then we have also heard reports that Mike Pence was sent out, but they have also stated that an explosive device was found at the Republican HQ. So they weren't just targeting progressives; they were targeting Democrats as well. They were Republicans as well. They were going after Republicans whom they thought would succeed, would not do their bidding. So I said it was fascism, and it is, but it's also a terroristic attempt to overthrow the government. They've basically attempts to bomb the Republican committee, Republican HQ, and they're targeting members of Congress over an election that they clearly lost, and now someone may very well have died because of this. If anybody wants to tell you after this that explosive rhetoric does nothing and it's just words, please call them out on their bullshit after this, because we're now witnessing the consequence of years of rhetoric just imploding. This is unbelievable. And then I'm just going to switch the screen share real quick. There's been one tweet in the last hour by the president. In the last hour, what is this? Okay. So I'm going to show you what's happening. I don't know what he's going to say, so it may very well not be truthful. And it is buffering. Hold on.
We had an election. I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
I have no words for that. Well, there is a riot going on because Americans, a portion of America, believes that their election was stolen from them. The President of the United States, witnessing a riot in his own city, refuses to acknowledge that he was wrong. He still characterizes his opponents as evil. He still characterizes this election as fraudulent, even though he lost 62 times in court. 62 times! By judges who were appointed by him. The judiciary is very much an extension of his presidency. And yet now we have him saying the same thing. Someone might have died today because of his rhetoric. I don't care that he said, go home, go be peaceful. They're not going to listen because you contradicted yourself. The president contradicted himself by saying that the core grievance was correct. That's the reason they're rioting. They think this was a fraudulent election. It's hot. When I was listening to Pod Save America the other day, I thought like they talked about impeachment when the Trump tape came out. And I thought that'd be the end of it. He'd shown his ass and it would be done. But now there's a riot. A life may very well have been lost. Lives were threatened. Bombs were put in the Republican headquarters. And the president still insists that he was unfairly treated. And that's what's causing all of this. This man needs to be impeached. He needs to be barred from federal office. And he needs to never, ever get away with what he did to this country. 4 years of overt, blatant corruption and the destruction of our institutions, permitted and maintained by a cult of personality. Donald Trump is a fascist. He's always been a fascist. I just didn't think we'd have to say it right after he got his ass handed to him in an election. And now the American people are paying the price. And this... And this is their price. A riot. I see one of the rioter sympathizers is in the chat, so goodbye. I'm just going to say this right now. If you come into this chat and try to defend what's happening right now and say that that progressives are the fascists, I will just delete you from the stream. You have freedom of speech, but I have a freedom of association.
Thank you. How you doing? This is very crazy right now. We are live. Sorry, folks. You might hear some things talking off camera, and you may hear some profanity, but this is a very fluid situation. We're just trying to bring you what's happening. We're about to get sprayed, huh? All right, we've been told we're about to get sprayed. If we're about to get sprayed, I want to find a place that we can get out. I want a place that we can exit. I cannot get hit again. Because that is... Oh, okay. Yeah, this is kind of what they're doing to push the line back. They would pepper spray and then flash bomb, pepper spray, and then move forward. That's pretty much how they're clearing the area. And they're in the next stage of the pepper spray. And we're going to back away from that because It's painful. Thank you very much. A lot of people appreciating our coverage on this. As like I said, we're doing the best we can. We are viewer supported, and I know this sounds like a really odd time to push for any kind of donations right now at this point, but
I'm just gonna mute him because I don't know who. I believe that's Baked Alaska, but I may be wrong. Yeah, Right Side Broadcasting. That's a white supremacist thing, I think. No, this is a. I'm not gonna promote whatever he's doing on my stream. I'm not gonna ask you to donate to him. But no, the Seattle Protest Network is actually just showing all the different streams at once. But I just think we really need to talk about like there's nothing we, as in you, the viewer right now, or I can do at the moment. Right now, we just need the National Guard to take care of this and just hand it all and deal with the threat to our representatives and our government. So yeah, no, you guys just got to remember that this is not normal. You got to sit back and relax. I had to stop a stream earlier today because I was just getting so mad, but just remember this too will pass. Damage that has been done here, but it will pass. These guys are not going to overturn an election. They're not going to stop the National Guard, and it looks like they're dispersing a bit. But some of these people, like who walked into Nancy Pelosi's office, like Nick Fuentes and Baked Alaska, who's a fascist streamer, they need to be charged. All of them.
That's right! Fucking Mason, little old ladies! Who are you guys? You want Mace my mom? Go Mace your mom! You junkie, trash ass cops! Mason people! What's wrong with you?
I apologize for the vulgarity, by the way, but I mean, I've been cursing too. But it's interesting to note that these guys are suddenly surprised by the hostility that the police use in putting down riots. Because I remember when BLM was a thing, and even though most of the protests were peaceful, there were some riots, and they were calling for people to be put down with pepper spray. And now they're complaining about being pepper sprayed. You guys stormed the Capitol building. Also, where's the National Guard? It seems like their audio is having some difficulty, so I will be finding another one. Oh, there we go.
Still a lot of people here right now. They certainly cleared out the elevated structure they built for the inauguration, but obviously people are down below.
So for those who didn't just hear, they're basically surrounding the elevator system that's being set up for the inauguration, presumably for some sort of like platform for Biden to speak in during the inauguration and all that. Yeah, so they are either being cleared away from it right now, or there's just been some craziness going on. You'll have to forgive me for my lack of words to describe what I'm witnessing right now. I did not expect this morning.
It's all right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, at this point. Let her go. They took that girl. Oh, they took the girl. Oh yeah. The girl that you saw earlier that we focused on, she's been removed from the scaffolding. Probably for own sake. The wind has picked up here. I will say we got a wind at about out of the north, blowing about 15. So look, the winds have picked up. So if that means anything as far as when the tear gas is shot, it is going to blow quite a bit after being released. But that was a lot. What we heard earlier from those two individuals is that people are angry that when we saw the protests over the summer in all these cities, you didn't see the police stand up to the protesters. The violence that we saw just now towards the supporters here is something that we haven't seen that before.
Okay, I think that's the right side broadcaster who's trying to basically say that the violence that we saw against protesters in this case was disproportionate to that of Black Lives Matter protesters, meaning like they didn't go after the Black Lives Matter protesters, but they're targeting us, that kind of thing, assuming that is the right side broadcaster who's talking here. But that's a little crap. I remember when they started taking people into like unmarked cars and arresting people without any knowledge of who they were. There were, if I'm not mistaken, from the Black Lives Matter protest, if I'm remembering correctly, at the downtown Naperville protest, there were people in armored vehicles with camouflage on. So I mean, like, we weren't storming the Capitol building, for God's sake. Like, I was part of the more peaceful marches in Naperville, but like, for God's sake, don't pretend like this is even remotely comparable to what we're seeing right now. Like what we saw in like the BLM protests and the Jacob Blake protests and the George Floyd responses, we weren't storming a Capitol building trying to kill representatives of the United States. And it looks like they're dispersing a bit.
It just absolutely is choking. And of course, we're not geared up like a lot of these, you see these Antifas, you see these protesters, they come with the mask and the gas, face protectors.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop dealing with this person's stream, because not the SPN stream, because this is a collection of streams by the Seattle Protest Network. That's kind of collection these. The one that keeps speaking is from the right side broadcaster, who is a right-wing political operative. So they're broadcasting themselves doing this. So they'll be prosecuted easier that way. But he's basically going off about Antifa, and that's kind of their big boogeyman at the moment. But this is not Antifa. These are Trump supporters. They got Trump flags. They're screaming about Trump, and they were screaming, "Let us in." This is all about Trump. This is on the exact day where they were planning a protest, right after one of their guys stabbed somebody in DC. So I'm gonna go to the what is live on Twitter at the moment, because I don't want to be promoting under any circumstances what this guy's saying, because I can't keep telling you guys what this guy is saying is nonsense, because he's he's trying to cover his own rear end at this point. I'm going to also see if C-SPAN is going live too, because that way I don't have to worry about copyright strike or anything. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I can't do that because at the moment for something's wrong with the C-SPAN stuff. So I'll just show you the CBS News podcast released. So I'll show you that.
Well, the conversation is going to have to happen in the next few hours. And the objectors are going to have to ask themselves whether they seriously want to persist in their objection after what they've seen today. And again, knowing that what they're doing has no chance of being successful, that it is all a stunt. I mean, that's a pretty cynical ploy right there. So at a minimum, when we get back together at a conference, I think we all have to say we're not going to persist in the objection. We support the peaceful transfer of power, and we're done perpetuating this fiction that somehow Congress has the authority to overturn the results of the state.
Congressman, to what degree have you been communicated with by leadership about what will happen tonight? Will you reconvene? I've been told that it's possible that the House may reconvene, not in the chamber itself, but in the Ways and Means Committee room.
If that message came down, I missed it. I haven't gotten that. So, I've heard nothing formally from leadership right now. I would imagine they're trying to figure it out. And all the focus right now is just on making sure this thing doesn't escalate any further, making sure that the now violent protesters disband, abide by the curfew. But I've not heard anything about when we're going to reconvene.
Do you believe it's necessary for Congress to send a message that it get back to business as soon as possible?
Yes, 100%. I think it's necessary for Congress to send the message that we support the peaceful transition of power and that we, as the federal government, don't have the right to overturn the will of the states and, by extension, the American people. That is sort of Schoolhouse Rock Constitution 101.
Congressman Mike Gallagher, we thank you so very much for joining us. Chip Reed, I believe, is near Capitol Hill and has some new information to share with us. Chip?
Yeah, I'm just on Constitution Avenue, just outside the Senate. Two things here. Number one, there were a group of about 20 media with cameras. That's the Senate slump site, which you are certainly well familiar with, just out at the bottom of the Senate steps. And out of nowhere, we were suddenly surrounded by about 40 or 50 protesters who started chanting things that I can't repeat about the media on TV. They started throwing bottles. They started pushing people. They picked up the metal fences that we were surrounded by and throwing them at us. And we, for our own safety, evacuated the area, but we did stay long enough to get some pretty good video of them smashing the equipment, cameras, sound equipment, everything they could get their hands on. They just completely took over that spot as they shouted USA, USA, and God bless America. Now I'm just across the street at the Russell Senate Office building, and I just saw a column of, I would estimate, between 120 and 150 police officers. And by the way, the Capitol grounds is now completely surrounded by police, and there are helicopters above. And I saw this column of 120 to 150 police officers walking three abreast, all of them in helmets and flak jackets, walking down Constitution Avenue and turned in the direction of the Capitol grounds. There is a 6 o'clock curfew in Washington. They may be timing some kind of move that might suggest that to start clearing the Capitol grounds of these protesters in time for that, or sometime in the vicinity of that 6 o'clock curfew.
Chip, I must ask you, were you injured at all in this fracas? Were any of our colleagues injured? And where were the police? Where were the police? Did you have any sense that you could or would be protected?
There were no police around us. We were on our own. In fact.
Okay, so the fact that yeah, I agree. It is absolute madness, Mr. Leak. But right now, I just want to make something very, very, very clear. The fact that the police were not ready for this is absolutely and utterly unacceptable. We knew they were coming to DC. This was known. They were pronouncing that they were going to do something on January 6th, and we didn't have enough officers at the ready. My God. And then they're targeting media outlets. This is another thing. When Trump said that the media is the enemy of the people. Well, you just heard them say that they were burning cameras and media equipment in this riot. They were targeting people. This is the inevitable result.
A flak jacket and a helmet, not only anywhere in the United States of America, but in our United States Capitol. And that's what's happening at this hour. You have law enforcement descending on the U.S. Capitol to try and disperse this crowd from the Capitol. It is nightfall now here in Washington, D.C. The mayor of the District of Columbia, Mayor Muriel Bowser, has ordered a citywide 6 p.m. curfew. It's my understanding that it has been communicated to protesters that that curfew will be enforced by arrest. It appears, and they have already used tear gas and other materials. I want to bring in Jeff Pegues, who is right there on the scene. And Jeff, has that messaging had any effect?
Slowly but surely, I think it is having an effect out here, Nora. We see a line of police officers in the rotunda here pushing the crowd of protesters back. And in fact, if you look here to my left, you will see that more of the protesters are streaming from this area, which suggests that police are being more successful in their efforts to clear this capital area. Now that the sun has gone down, nightfall has come, and that curfew that you mentioned.
I do suspect to some extent that the police were not expecting this and they were worried about the political implications. I mean, the police do have to care. This is their job. And plus, these guys would kill them probably because there were shots fired on the grounds. Like some of the people who were on the floor of the Senate were the sergeants at arms, meaning those people were specifically designated to defending the Congress. And so, I mean, the sergeant at arms was ready to do what they needed to do. But the thing is, we were so ill prepared. We didn't take this seriously. And I think we really did assume it would just be a bunch of LARPers. But the thing that I think we need to learn from this is right-wing extremism is a problem. And it will continue to be a problem if we don't take it seriously. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Right-wing extremism in this country is one of the biggest threats to American democracy that we ever could have. And we're seeing it again right here. Painfully so. And it looks like they're finally dispersing a bit. But I don't think any of those people have any right to fly American flags ever again. They're a bunch of insurgents, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, I'm looking at one of the other streams, and it looks like they're finally dispersing a bit.
Room by room, corridor by corridor. Every office building as well.
And every office building, because as Senator Tammy Duckworth and other lawmakers we've spoken with today told us, they want to keep going.
And I just heard from another senator who says they still don't know when, where, or how they might reconvene tonight, but they certainly want to. Stick and stay.
And I think, do we have that shot of the west front of the Capitol again? With the expansive look at the lawn?
That right there you can see is...
This is Pennsylvania Avenue.
Oh, absolutely. Invoke the 25th.
To get a sense of where exactly that is.
Either way, what we were conveying with images a little while ago is that while this is an intense crowd, it is not a large crowd at this point.
It has begun to thin, it appears, and with the exception of what Chip Reed just reported to us, a full-on assault of members of the media on the east front near the swamp site. That's an area just at the foot of the Senate stairs on the east front of the Capitol. That area is largely empty, it appears, by all the video shots that we've seen, the live footage. So it appears what remains of the crowd has concentrated to the degree it has on the west front.
Yes, there were shots fired on this in the building. Someone was shot in the chest, and my understanding is that there is a woman in critical condition in the hospital due to this. And the 25th Amendment basically states that here, I'll pull up the full text so that way I don't cause any confusion. But basically, the 25th Amendment means that they can remove the president when he is not fit for service. In this case, they would say that the president is engaged in behavior that is so unruly that he is no longer fit for office. So here's the 25th. It relates to the presidential succession. I want to find the exact text. Oh, this is way too long. So in the case of the removal of the president from office or death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. So in this case, we would see Mike Pence become president until January 20th, which would be a couple days from now for the inauguration. But whenever under Section 4, it says whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or such body as Congress may by law provide transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge their powers and duties of office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers. So the 25th Amendment basically means that if Speaker Pelosi and the president pro tempore of the Senate decides that the president is in no condition to fulfill his duties to the United States as president. Yeah, he was never fit for the presidency, but the reason we're saying invoke the 25th now is because I don't know if you saw this earlier, Mr. Link, but earlier in the stream, Donald Trump released a video where he says that the election was rigged, but you guys need to go home. And that's the kind of incompetence when you're dealing with the situation that makes him especially unfit when there's a riot. I know Representative Ilhan Omar is currently preparing articles of impeachment. I brought that up earlier in the stream. And then we also have Representative Congresswoman Cori Bush. I believe it was her. That was the one who had called for it. So there's a draft to possibly expel some of the members of the House who were involved with the effort to block the certification. So they're saying, according to CBS News, that it is very possible that they will continue once this crowd is dispersed to begin certification of Biden's victory into the presidency of the United States, which it will be interesting to see because we don't know if Ted Cruz and the others will maintain their objections. I don't think it'll be easy for them to do so, but they may very well do so. And it looks like the police are moving in. Finally.
No number of Virginia National Guard that have all been sent to D.C. at the mayor's request. 500 Maryland National Guard and state troopers. Montgomery County Police has sent 53 members of their special events response team, an all hands on deck. Look at this picture as the Capitol is lit up bright tonight to give law enforcement a clear picture and to remove those. And the reason, as Alan He, our Capitol Hill reporter who just spoke with Senator Manchin, he said to Senator Manchin, what's the plan for tonight? And Senator Manchin told Alan He, we plan as soon as they get everything cleared, but we're going to go back and do our business. And Alan said, in the Capitol tonight, and Senator Manchin said, we sure hope so. So we'll say whatever it takes, these thugs are not running us off. That from the senator from West Virginia.
As we discussed many hours ago, there would be an institutional imperative to send a signal. The Capitol is lit up not just to aid law enforcement in the removal of these insurrectionists and mob violence committers, but also to look the way it does, to be a shining light symbol.
I think that's a good symbol, but like okay, they still stormed the Capitol. They still got in Speaker Pelosi's office. Also, why aren't we calling them fascists? Because this was a reactionary right-wing movement that was opposed to change and egalitarian movements. They consistently were using anti-left-wing talking points And that's been a characteristic of fascist movements, conspiracies, anti-left-wing movements, and things like that. And yes, absolutely, Shaw Dynasty. Ted Cruz bears immense responsibility for what he's doing. Because if it weren't for Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley leading this effort to object to the presidential results in an election that wasn't really close at all, there would have been far less legitimacy to this. I don't know if there would have been necessarily a riot to the degree that we're seeing today if they had not objected, but it certainly wouldn't have emboldened them.
Georgia, yes, from Georgia, yes.
It's funny, when we sit here, it seems so insignificant, but when the day began, it was quite significant. The Democrats won both those seats in Georgia. There is no Democratic.
Have we actually announced that we've called
yes,
it?
we have.
I know.
We have it on the air.
No, but can we do that?
Major, I actually did ask a little while ago. It was thought that we should stay in the moment here, but I know because yes, we missed the boards. Yes, that moment about just what happened because this is just what we're witnessing live. In the moment we should stay, but it is that has eclipsed in some ways what is a significant.
And here's the other thing. All this violence is completely insane. Jim Jordan, too. Yes, absolutely. Jim Jordan, Ted Cruz, all of them. Every last one of them is responsible for this, Shaw. But, I mean, you think about it. The first time in recent history where since, like, what was it, like 2008? That the last time the Democrats controlled the Senate and we're distracted by it because, there's a freaking riot in the freaking Capitol building. My God.
Was a 33-year-old documentary filmmaker has defeated the incumbent senator David Perdue in what has been now is at about 30,000 votes there. We had earlier called in the middle of the night for the other Democrat running in that race, Reverend Warnock, who is the pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church where Martin Luther King once presided, and he defeated not the acting senator, but the
She replaced Kelly Loeffler, filling out the unexpired term of Johnny Heisen.
She was never an elected senator. She was just filling out an expired term of Kelly Loeffler.
And running for the opportunity to do that,
so
and was defeated.
Now CBS News projects that Democrats hold 50 seats in the United States Senate, as do Republicans, and with the vice president-elect a Democrat, she would cast the tie-breaking vote, which would give them the majority. We want to return now to Capitol Hill and see exactly what's happening there because you see law enforcement trying to disperse protesters. We are now just 18 minutes away from 6 o'clock. That is the curfew that has been enacted by the mayor of the District of Columbia, which she has made clear will be enforced by arrests. My guess is the jails may be full tonight, given the number of protesters still out there. And Chris Van Cleve has been in the crowds. Chris, tell us what you're seeing about the efforts to disperse these protesters.
Well, Lenore, we're on the western front of the Capitol here. You can see it's a much different scene than when we last spoke to you. A lot fewer people here. The Capitol Police have deployed a series of flashbangs, some smoke. Some people are complaining about pepper spray or tear gas as well. That has certainly helped thin the numbers of people that are out front of the Capitol here. There's still a number of people right up along.
It didn't cut out. I had to shut it off, Robert. Oh, Mr. Link.
Protest, but and for all the talk about what happened inside the Capitol today, a lot of the people that gathered out here did so peacefully. They were here to protest, here to be heard. And many of the folks were just as surprised to hear about what transpired inside the Capitol as everyone watching at home. We have seen not only Montgomery County Police, but a large number of Fairfax County, Virginia Police come into the Capitol area here as they've been moving forces into the area, not only from D.C., but Maryland, Virginia. And if you talk about that.
So I think this is winding down. Would it be okay with you guys if I turned off the share screen real quick and just talk about what we just witnessed? I'm just going to do stop screen real quick and then I'll show you. So yeah, it looks like things are settling down and things are getting better. But I want to make something very clear that we witnessed Yeah, I have seen me in the other stream earlier today, Mr. Link. You would have seen me going crazy. No, this is an unfortunate and horrid display by a group of fascists. And make no mistake, this was fascistic, this was terroristic, and openly hostile to the well-being of this country. And they were trying to overturn the popular will of the American people. Thankfully, they failed, and likely what we will see is that Congress, the House and the Senate, will certify Joe Biden's victory. He will become president on January 20th. The Democrats will control the House and the Senate, and Mitch McConnell will finally be a minority leader since John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock have won both their races. We have swept Georgia, and despite the violence, the Republican Party is paying for its support of Donald Trump. What happens to him from this point on is not yet known, but we will know soon. And I hope and pray that he will pay for what he's done to this country, and our institutions can recover, and we can see some serious progressive change. I think that's going to be it for the stream for today, because I already streamed 2 hours before this. That was supposed to be the Georgia stream, but then there was a coup. But I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. I will have hopefully a podcast tomorrow morning, but we will see, since I spent most of the day reporting on this. Thank you so much for your support and all that you wanted. If you missed the stream, since I saw someone just enter, this will be uploaded to YouTube within the hour, hopefully. And you will be able to watch it on my YouTube channel, The Progressive American. Thank you so much for your support, and may you all have a wonderful night. Thank you.